am the Irish guy, and right, this has been the year of new captains. Of all 20 current Premier League teams, 12 clubs have appointed a new captain this year. 12! There are 12 nervous men, probably studying leadership books while sitting on the toilet. So this is probably the worst possible time to rank all 20 Premier League captains from worst to best, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I'm sorry. Some of these recency captaincy appointments are so bizarre, so mind-bogglingly stupid. Some of them look so out of place, like if you made Eamon Holmes captain of the Avengers. Right, let's go. Oh, by the way, if you're new here, just hit that subscribe button, you absolute legends. Pretty much it, really. Back into the video. 20th, Kurt Zouma. Kurt Zouma kicks cats. How quickly everybody forgets. I mean, is this a joke? An actual farce? Last year, people were contemplating whether or not West Ham should sack this man. Everyone was saying what a dreadful role model he was. And now, a year later, he's just been given the captaincy for one of England's most historical clubs. He's following in the footsteps of Bobby Moore. West Ham deserve better than this. Zouma should be lucky he wasn't banished from the league. In a harsher world, West Ham would have torn up his contract and fed that to a cat. And he'd be having to beg for mercy at Nice. I don't care about his leadership qualities in the dressing room. To me, he's just a coward who bullies animals. And for David Moyes to make him the face of West Ham, I think it's dreadful. To me, make Thomas Suchek captain. Or why not give it to new boy James Ward-Prowse? But KZ, don't make me sick on the floor. 19th, Neto. Goalkeepers should not be captains. I'm sorry, but no. Listen, I get why Gary O'Neill made Neto the Bournemouth captain last season. There's a 34-year-old bloke who has played for Brazil, and he's represented the likes of Fiorentina, Juventus, Valencia, Barcelona, monster Euro clubs. So the fact he's now agreed to live on some pebbly beach, agreeing to reside in a town which probably smells of seaweed, fish goujons, and Graham Souness's hairy armpits, Bournemouth probably feel lucky he's even at their club. And he is a decent goalie, but making him captain just because he's got a pretty CV? What use is it having a captain stranded on one end of the pitch, not allowing him to leave his box? How is he supposed to communicate with the strikers? I mean, does somebody want to give him a microphone? Or is he literally supposed to scream at blokes who are 90 yards away? Listen, I know he's new at the club, and immediately making him captain now might feel a bit too soon. Yes, maybe offering Tyler Adams the captain's armband. Just 4 training sessions in might creep him out a little, like bringing a wedding ring on a Tinder date. But come on, he literally captains the United States. He carries the hopes and dreams of 332 million people on his back at every World Cup. Who are we kidding? Only about 12% actually care. But yeah, make Adams the captain, not Neto. 18th, Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes should not be Manchester United captain. I know, that's probably angered plenty of you, because a lot of the fans like that he's a moany little mouse.
Oh, it's just passion. It shows that he cares.
Lads, there's levels to this. People like to compare his on-pitch antics to that of Roy Keane. No. With Keane, there was always an element of danger about him. You never really knew what he was going to do. He always looked like he was one switch in his brain away from decapitating the ref with his paws. But with Bruno, you always know
he'll do nothing.
He reminds you of Cesc Fabregas. Unbelievable footballer, yes, but he would always complain, moan, and whinge at the ref on the pitch. And guess what? Arsenal won nothing with Cesc as captain. And similarly, Bruno, I think he will be weighed down by the armband this season. I don't look at him as an inspirational leader who's going to stick his arm around struggling youngsters in the dressing room. No, I beg Amazon to stick cameras in the Man United changing rooms. You'll probably just have 4 hours of footage of him sulking in the corner every time the team failed to win. There'll be no Braveheart speeches. Nothing. Just passively aggressively whining at Luke Shaw when the left back is tucking into his post-match pie. I think Bruno is a quality player, yes, but the Man United captain should be Rafa Varane. He's won 5 Champions Leagues and a World Cup. He's played in 2 World Cup finals. He had a centre-back pairing with Sergio Ramos. He was one of the greatest leaders of all time. Of all time! Now you just sound like I'm whinging at Taylor Swift. 17th, Max Kilman. I'm not sure. I don't know what Max Kilman is like as a captain. Not yet, but I can guess. This fella's had a strange career. Born in Chelsea, grew up playing futsal. Yes, futsal. I would imagine watching this guy in a Wolves 5-a-side. You'd assume he grew up on a beach in Brazil. Andrei Shevchenko wanted him to switch international allegiances, but his indoor football career meant that he's now trapped with England forever. Honestly, he could play international football under a former Ballon d'Or winner. And yeah, instead he's just stuck trying to gain approval from a weedy little man who looks like he belongs in the School of Rock. This is a guy who's still in university at 21, and to make the jump from the conference to the Premier League for a guy who was probably living off chicken wings and playing beer pong with his cat, fair play. And he's now just become Wolves captain. It's impressive, but I don't think it's going to work. This is a mostly Latin dressing room, who were used to having an English captain in Conor Cody, yes. But Cody is an actual born leader from the streets of Liverpool. He was someone the Portuguese could rally around and buy into. Kilman, by contrast, he's a fine defender, yes, but trying to follow a loudmouth, skinhead Aragorn like Cody with a private school posh boy from West London, it would be like getting Spencer Matthews to enroll in the police. Yeah, I mean, I don't think any bad guys are going to take you seriously when you've got a £500 quiff and manicured fingers. Honestly, Kilman is too posh to be a Premier League captain, and you're going to get relegated. Sorry. And considering it's mostly a Portuguese and Brazilian dressing room, the captain's armband should have gone to Mateus Nunes. Sorry, Max. Oh, now I just sound like the Grinch. 16th, Son Heung-min. What exactly about Son Heung-min screams captain? I'm sorry, but maybe I'm just being mean. Maybe I'm too focused on looking at the fearless warriors from the past, like Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira, John Terry, Steven Gerrard. These were monster captains. Men who'd probably wrestle a grizzly bear if it guaranteed their team 3 points on the weekend. By contrast, Son Heung-min now dons the armband at Spurs. Someone who is just nice. Someone who could have played a prince in a Disney film. Just an inoffensive, smiley, handsome bloke. I mean, he's very, very wholesome. Right now, he's probably having a sunny picnic with his wife. He's probably just after having a very patient, hour-long Skype with a senile nan. He's probably got posters of Pikachu on his wall. Is he a natural captain? No. This man is the most famous footballer South Korea have ever produced. And yet he only assumed the captain's armband when he was 27. I don't feel like he's been made captain now due to any leadership qualities. It's just, who else was Ange Postecoglou going to give it to? Maybe Pierre-Emile Højbjerg? Although I'm pretty sure Daniel Levy was ready to bid him off to Atletico Madrid in June for a hamburger and a packet of Maltesers. Son is the only superstar left in Tottenham's squad, so you had to give him the armband. But from watching that Spurs documentary, the guy looks so nervous and polite. Can you imagine him shouting at anyone in the dressing room? He's an incredible player, yes, but giving him the armband would have been like if Sir Alex Ferguson had made Nani the captain of Manchester United. A talented player, yes, but the man was so sensitive, he'd probably start crying even just watching the ending to Shrek. Tottenham played Manchester United last weekend, and honestly, it was like the battle of two contrasting captains. One was horrible and vicious, the other just a complete sweetheart. It was like Captain Barbosa facing off against Captain Underpants. 15th, Kevin De Bruyne. I know. Imagine sticking Kevin De Bruyne 15th in this list. You probably all think I'm insane, but relax. I know he's world class. I know he's one of the greatest midfielders of all time, but I'm not impressed by his leadership skills. He's finally become Manchester City captain 8 years after joining the club. Look, Vincent Kompany and then Fernandinho were obvious captains at the Etihad, but it was last year when City players elected Ilkay Gundogan to take the armband. That said a lot to me. They elected him to be the one to lift the first treble for the club. I mean, despite being the most influential player in the squad, to not be made the captain by his own teammates, and factoring the fact that we all remember whining on the pitch with David Silva begging him to
Let me talk!
I mean, can you imagine Vincent Kompany carrying on like that? It just made De Bruyne look like a brat, begging his mum to buy him a PlayStation 5. And what clinched it for me, last winter, he literally wrecked his own Belgium dressing room, eating their morale with a spoon by calling his teammates too old to win the World Cup. He's a wonderful player, but an inspirational leader, a proper captain. It's the weakest part of his makeup. He seems like an insular player who focuses on himself. Sure, he leads by example on the pitch, but as a captain, he's a bit of a wet banana. 14th, Joel Ward. Boring. Joel Ward is single-handedly the most boring, dull, tedious footballer in the entire Premier League. For all the kiddies who collect those sticker packs, I'd imagine when they rush down the shop after school and open a new shiny pack just to get this grimy old man. Oh no! It's probably like being hungry all day. You're literally fantasizing about steak while sitting on the loo, and yet your mom tells you you're just having broccoli on toast. Devastating! Ward is a piece of the Sellers Park furniture who has been in the Palace defence every single season since 2012. He's never been anything special. He was just a £400,000 buy from Portsmouth, and the club have clearly made sure they got the money's worth. It's a bit like being gifted a pair of socks for Christmas and you choose to wear them every day for over a decade. I mean, there'll be massive holes in the toes. They'll probably smell like a monkey's infected scab. He's only just been named the Palace captain in April of this year at 33. He's probably a decent voice in the dressing room, but if he was that much of a born leader, the club wouldn't have waited over 4,000 days to make him captain. I don't know, I'm sure he's fine. 13th, Christian Norgard. Christian Norgard is a newbie Brentford captain after Pontus Jansson went back to Sweden. Clearly Thomas Frank wants to stick with the Scandinavian theme, but Christian Norgard has over 100 games for Brentford under his belt. He's dependable, quality defensive midfielder, was mostly captain for last season too. So yeah, Norgard must be good. 12, Tom Kearney. I don't think Tom Kearney should be Fulham captain anymore. Sure, he's done well in the past, but he's nearly 33, barely gets into Marco Silva starting 11 anymore. So how much can you really lead from the bench? Listen, he's played over 250 times for Fulham. That deserves massive respect. And as captain, he's helped get them promoted twice. He's probably not Premier League quality anymore, so he should just go and get himself a move to his boyhood club Celtic. And I promise you, Brendan Rodgers will have already made captain on his hands. 11th, John Egan. John Egan is another new Premier League captain. After Billy Sharp went to join LA Galaxy, I'm still confused by that. 5 years ago, they were invading Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So I mean, if all the pennies ran out, this is a bit like your gold-digging sister telling the family that she's bringing Orlando Bloom over for Christmas dinner. And then, in 5 years' time, Legolas is long gone, and you're instead shaking hands with her latest squeeze, that homeless guy who eats his own cats. Well, listen, Egan is an old-fashioned, down-to-earth centre-back leader. He often captains Ireland too, has been with the Blades for 5 years, and first put on a Sheffield United shirt on loan 11 years ago. He gets the club. 10th, Jack Cork. Jack Cork was handpicked to be Vincent Kompany's Burnley captain last summer. That is good enough for me. He's been at the club since 2017, and in his debut season as Burnley captain, they earned 101 points in the championship. Last season, he excelled as Burnley captain for the first half of the season, but he did barely start a match after Christmas, has completely lost his place in midfield for this season, so he's just what Mark Noble was 2 years ago. 9th, John McGinn. Look, John McGinn seems like a laugh, doing the John Joe Shelby celebration every time he scores a goal. What a wacky character, right? The Scottish Jim Carrey. The one thing with McGinn, though, is that I would imagine that he has a frosty, tense relationship with Tyrone Mings, because the latter was at Villa captain before Steven Gerrard publicly humiliated him, and for no reason at all, just stripped him of the armband and gave it to McGinn. It wasn't just that. Mings wasn't even allowed to be vice captain anymore. I'm not sure if Mings was caught stealing a cookie from Gerrard's lunchbox. I don't know if he was found sending secret texts to his wife, but it was all a bit cruel. As for McGinn, though, he seems like a great leader. Ever since he became captain, Aston Villa have become one of the best teams in England. And he sometimes captains Scotland too, when Andy Robertson has the flu. And similarly, ever since McGinn became Scotland's main man, they've turned into a quality side too. This is the guy who Sir Alex Ferguson would have signed if he was still Manchester United boss. That should tell you all you need to know about McGinn. He's a popular figure in the dressing room, yes, but I would imagine he's not always just a wacky KSI, and at times can be a proper grizzly Al Pacino in the dressing room. Honestly, I think he's an underrated captain. 8th, Virgil van Dijk. Virgil van Dijk was a colossal influence on this Liverpool team. Absolutely. And when he first joined, I thought his influence was so huge. I was surprised why he wasn't made the immediate captain. But right now in 2023, I'm not sure he is going to be a world-class captain, because he's been the Holland skipper for 5 years and has had Dutch legends like Marco van Basten damning his leadership skills and accusing him of failing as a captain.
He makes noise, but he doesn't say anything. He's not clear. A good captain thinks aloud and makes it clear what's going on. He stays in between and creates chaos. This is what you as a captain must prevent.
One Dutch pundit called him a first-class wimp. He demanded they take his armband away. Ruud Gullit accused Van Dijk of arrogance. I don't know, considering he's now 32 and hasn't been the same since his injury, I think he's become a Liverpool captain too late. He's effectively failed as Holland captain, but there is also a Beckham-esque aura around him, so he is able to lead on the pitch and set a good example, so he's not hopeless. I reckon he's still a good captain, but not a great one. 7th, Joe Worrell. Joe Worrell is about as talented as a bucket of eggs, but he's managed to keep his Nottingham Forest place in defence amidst the chaos of transfers. It reminds me when QPR went crazy and tried to do a glitzy makeover after their promotion, buying all these weary stars, and yet Clint Hill still clung on to his starting place, despite being an ugly, unfashionable gargoyle who probably scared old ladies on the bus. And 26-year-old Worrell, Forest born and bred, has played over 200 times for the club. He captained them out of a championship relegation mess to a promotion to the Premier League. I think any man who captains his team to victory in that absolutely vomit-inducing pressure cauldron of a £150 million playoff final, if you can keep your head during that match, you have my ultimate respect. 6th, Jamal Lascelles. Yes, I think Jamal Lascelles is a better captain than Van Dijk. Mental buddies. I know Kieran Trippier is still the on-pitch Newcastle captain, but Jamal Lascelles still has the armband. You know, Eric Ten Hag unceremoniously embarrassed Harry Maguire by taking away his armband. Eddie Howe clearly has far more respect for Lascelles than to do that. This is a guy who was made Newcastle captain in 2016 when he was just 22 years of age. 22! And do you know who made him captain? Not just some boring wet weasel of a coach. No, Rafa Benitez, who has worked with his fair share of world-class leaders in the past. Lascelles is the longest-serving Newcastle captain since Alan Shearer. He led a demoralised, depressed Newcastle to the championship title in his first season as captain. He helped them through plenty of relegation scraps under Mike Ashley. This is a man who oozes dignity and class. This is how you captain a football club, even when you've lost your starting place. As opposed to Maguire, who just walked around with his shoulders hunched, looking like he'd just seen the ghost of his dog. But Lascelles, average centre-back, yes, but to become captain of Newcastle United at 22 and to remain captain for 7 years, even when they're owned by one of the most powerful nations in the world, Wow. 5th, Tom Lockyer. Tom Lockyer is the most underrated captain in the Premier League. I'm sorry, but he is. Yes, he's another brand spanking newly appointed skipper this summer, but he was a standing captain for most of last season. And guess what? Captain Little Luton Town into the Premier League. In a world of modern footballers sitting out games because they can't find their favourite hair gel, there's a guy who literally suffered a minor heart attack in the Championship playoff final in front of the watching world. That alone could have sent anyone into complete and utter psychological horror, especially considering this happened just 1 week before his Luton contract expired. Imagine everything that would have gone through his head after having a Christian Eriksen moment on live television in one of the most publicised games in English football, collapsing on the BBC. What, he'd now be unemployed, untouchable, and having to retire at 28? Right? But no, he's clearly got his head screwed on because he's just come back to play the final 90 minutes of the opening day of the season against Brighton. Yes, as a player, he might be a walking, talking scarecrow who's about to get exposed in the Premier League, but as a man, wow. What a warrior. 4th, Martin Odegaard. I'm surprised. Shocked that Martin Odegaard is the captain. He just looks like a grown-up version of the kid from Home Alone. It seemed like only 5 minutes ago this guy was a lost, frightened little boy in the attic of the Bernabeu. But in his debut season as Gunners' captain, he actually helped them go on a title charge. I don't know what type of leader Odegaard is, but the proof is in the pudding. He's clearly got star quality as a captain. Martin Odegaard? More like Martin Keown. 3rd, Seamus Coleman. Seamus Coleman is everything you want in a captain. I'm sorry, but he is. He is the captain of both Everton and Ireland. He's 34 years old and keeps himself in incredible shape. The man's like Wolverine. You can never destroy him. He broke his leg in 2 places in a match against Wales when he was 28. You'd think that would be the end of his Everton career. Absolutely not. And now he's just underwent knee surgery after a horror collision in May. He's nearly 35 and still showing the hunger to keep coming back. He was just a nothing £60,000 buy from Sligo Rovers in January 2009. Just a punt. And yet he's still at Goodison Park. As a leader, he's perfect. Almost untouchable. 2nd, Lewis Dunk. Lewis Dunk has been at Brighton his whole career. He made his debut for them back in 2009. He's a one-club man who's been club captain since 2019. And guess what? Ever since then, ever since that armband went on his bicep, that club have gone into beast mode. He's played in 2 FA Cup semi-finals, and now he's going to lead them out on European nights in the Europa League. There's a guy who's been at the club since 2003. He's actually a Brighton legend. 1st, Reece James. Look, I know it's unfair to keep Dunk off the top spot, but I think there is massive potential in Reece James's captaincy. I think he could become one of the greatest captains in Premier League history. There's a one-club Chelsea man who joined them in 2006, back when he was a striker who idolised Didier Drogba. Well, lads, I think he's going to be Chelsea captain for the next 12-13 years. He's going to lift plenty of trophies at Stamford Bridge. They're modern-day John Terry. Not only is he the type of leader who will lead by example on the pitch, but there will be an aura about him. Christ, well, he lifted a Champions League for this club at just 20 years of age. He's a world-class defender who's going to be held up as the British Cafu. For this man to take the captain's armband when there's literally a nearly 40-year-old Thiago Silva in the squad, that says everything. And I'm going to stick my neck out here. I think he'll be one of the greatest captains of the modern era. And forget about Declan Rice's hopes and dreams. In 4 years' time, James will be England captain. Anyway, that's the end of it. Let me know what do you think. Let me know who are your favourite captains. What are the worst ones? Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to give a like, as always. I'll talk to you in a while.